Hello, Falcha. So I've just been, I was in Dukas, as I often am, poking around, and I came across I was looking for Lunasa references, and I came across an interesting little story which mentioned the Badhbh. And it's definitely like a passion of mine to make sure that, like, when I come across references to the Badhbh, or any deity really, that like I'm tracking it back and seeing it fascinates me that it survived in the folklore into the 1930s and beyond. This ancient mythology that's still actually a part of our living tradition here. So I'm going to share my screen. Now it is Oscailga, it's in Irish, so bear with me. I was lucky enough, or I am lucky enough, to have one of our mess here. Mess is our collective word for teenagers. One of the teenagers that's here in the house, Erin. So thank you, Erin, for your help. But yeah, is a Gaeilgeoir. So we were able to kind of figure out, even though the Irish is an older form of Irish than Erin would have grown up with, definitely. So between us, we were able to figure it out mostly. And it basically says, so it's from County Waterford, which caught my attention as well, Kaleeshall in County Waterford. And it says that it was, there's mention of a Colbard as well, which is another name or another person that was referenced at least. But it looks like the teacher, Sean O'Connor, wrote it down himself. So we have Scéal na Badhbh. This is part 2. So I'm going to go and have a look for part 1 at some point as well. So this happened in Lunasa 1913. So in the month of August in 1913. So as I was searching for my Lunasa references for my Lunasa in Ireland class over at the Irish Pagan School, I'm doing a whole series on the fire festivals this year. So definitely go and check that out if you're interested. But the and this is another example of, I'm always talking about people who use, modern pagans who use the names of Irish festivals and use them incorrectly. It's very important that you actually put it into the month so that all of these things kind of happen in context, right? So we're in the harvest time. We do have like hag or Cailleach associations with the harvest in Ireland, and they may or may not be related. So it is very important to actually ground your paganism in the actual living culture and tradition, including the language. So anyway, this happened in August 1913. I was in my own house, and please, this is a very rough translation, okay? Basically, it says I was in my own house, and there's an interesting turn of phrase here. The time was between the 2 lights in the afternoon. And I don't quite know what that means, but between the 2 lights in the afternoon is the time frame. And I think that's an interesting one because it's very much a liminal space or a liminal time. And the audience maybe of the story that was being told here would have got that as well. And now you do too. So the whole thing goes on, and basically this person heard 2 shouts. The word here is beck, so that can be a shout or a scream or a yell. And heard 2 shouts and was waiting for the 3rd one, right? And after a while anyway, the 3rd one came, right? And once that was done, then he heard the 3rd one, and then basically kind of nothing happened after that, right? But the next morning, everybody was talking about it, and this guy called Colbard, when I told him my story, is what it says, that was his name, Colbard was his name, and when I told him my story, bhí sé I mail gach duine go mbeadh an Badhbh riamh. So it was in the mouths of everyone. So Irish is a lovely language, as I'm sure you're aware if you're in any way liked, subscribe to my channel, and if you're not, please hit the bell for notifications. Make sure you subscribe so you get all these videos. But the way we speak Irish is so poetic. It really is. So it was in the mouths of everyone. So everybody was gossiping and everybody was talking. Everybody was agreeing and saying that it was the Badhbh here, the Badhbh around, and i gcónaí inné na tréimhe sin. So always around the tribes here. So this is one of the things I wanted Erin to check when I asked her to have a look over it and check my, because I'm not fluent, I'm not a Gaeilgeoir. Unfortunately, I'm working on it, but I'm not yet. But this was a little bit tricky, some of the translations, because the Irish, as I said, is not standardized modern Irish. It's part of the older kind of in-betweeny Irish. And the reference to the Badb, when you just see it there, it could just be talking about a crow, right? But I think in this context, this is a very clear example of possibly the goddess Vive, right? Or it could be referencing the Badb as a banshee. Okay, so it doesn't specifically say the banshee. It specifically talks about the Badb, but it could be the Badb in her in a banshee role. Okay, so I just think that that is absolutely fascinating, and that the Badb is around the tribes here. So it's not even like the the families, that like the tribes is a very kind of specific reference there. And in Waterford, there is a long ancestral memory of na Déise, which would have been one of the original tribes that settled in this region and in many other regions. But there's a very, very strong connection to the Déise here in Waterford, and that's D-E Fada I-S-E, Déise. So all in all, I think that that was a really interesting little find here. I will put a link to the original in the notes below, and you can go and have a look at it yourself. I'm not going to, because I don't have a full and accurate translation, I'm not able to transcribe it, but as it caught my attention, I just wanted to make sure that I captured it somehow and just put it in. I do have another video about the Vive who, well, it's not, it could be the Vive. There's Vive-like references. It's the Jenny on the Hill one, and it's about the mountain around Strokestown in Roscommon. So I just think it's interesting that that this tradition is very widespread around the countryside. Roscommon and Waterford are in very different directions, but every time I dig into Dúchas, this is the National Folklore Collection here online. Every time I dig into it for something completely different, it's well attested that there's multiple rabbit holes to be going down. So I'll keep making videos. You can do your part to support all this work by subscribing to the channel, by hitting the bell for notifications, by signing up to our mailing list so you get the resources by email as well, and all that good stuff. Okay, so it's long full, and I will see you in the next video.